Today is Saturday, August 6, 2022, and today I'm just going to make, or at least prepare a site for my JS practice later. It's just going to be a simple landing page with like a logo, a nav bar, and like a button and some title. Alright, so in my HTML I'm going to have my head tags, and then inside the head I'm just going to put one meta tag, and it's going to be name equals viewport. So about the viewport, I need the content of the viewport, specifically the width, to be equal to the device width. And the initial scale should be 1.0. And basically what this says is, like if you're on your mobile device, it's not going to give you, like your browser is not going to give you the desktop version of the site. It's going to give you instead the mobile version of the site, because again, about the viewport, right, the content, the width of the content needs to be equal to the device width. So the width of your device, that being the width of your phone. All right, and so then I'm just gonna go into my body tag, and again, I always start with a container. I'm gonna label it with the class called container, and I'll go to my CSS and do .container and give it a property border, and then the following values: 5 pixels, black solid, and give it a height of 100 vertical height of the screen so I could see it. I'm going to get rid of any default margin and padding on everything on my site, so that's why I'm using the star selector, which represents the literal word everything. Alright, so then inside the container I'm going to have a header, which is going to contain my logo and my nav bar, and then I'm going to have a showcase, which is going to contain my title. So I'll start here. For the logo, I'm just going to give it an ID, call it logo, and then just end that. And I'll leave that there, and then obviously the nav bar, so I'll do div class nav bar, which is going to be my navigation bar, and it's going to hold basically all of my links. And I'm going to set it up in an unordered list, which is basically a list with bullet points instead of numbers. If you want a list with numbers, then you use an OL, which stands for an ordered list. Alright, so in an unordered list, or in any list actually, there's a list item at all times, and for me, I want the list items to be links, so I'm going to do a href goes to nowhere, so that's what the hashtag means, and I'm just going to say link for now, and that's what I'm going to have so far. It's my first piece of text on my page, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy this a few more times. Right, leave that like that, and then that's it for the header. Now on to the showcase. The showcase is just going to have one div. It's going to be called content, and inside that div is just going to be an h1, and it's going to be like I don't know, I love math so much, or like maybe math rocks, and then there's going to be a button, which I'm going to have as an a link, and it's going to be a hashtag, and it's just going to say button for now. Alright, and that's pretty much the HTML of my page. Now onto the CSS, where everything gets pretty. So for my CSS, I'll start with the showcase itself, and for the showcase I'm going to give it a background, a URL, and I'm going to go to Unsplash and have a picture, maybe just select a picture. Let's see, maybe this. So I can right click, copy image address, and paste that in there, and say background size cover, and make sure the showcase has a height of 100% and a width of 100% as well. And I'm going to save that, and I'm going to open it in debug mode so I can see. Oops, not full page mode, debug mode. Let me go back. Alright, so I can see what it looks like, so that's what it's looking like. Alright, maybe I want something a little bit better, more like opaque. Something like, let's see, maybe this would be good. I think so. Copy image address, let me go back and change the link of that to be this. and save that. Let me see how that looks like. Hello? Did I not copy it? Oh, I missed the quotation mark. All right, so that's looking good. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna apply an overlay. So I'm gonna do a linear gradient, and then I'm gonna do, parentheses, and then comma, and then in here for the linear gradient, I'm gonna do RGBA, 0.77, 0.77, 0.77, and then 0.7, and I'm just gonna copy that once more and paste that in there, and then now it should be overlaid. All right, so one thing, here's your problem. So the header is the white space that you see here. It's because it's inside the container, both the header and the showcase, they're sharing a space, and I don't want that. So I want the header to kind of be above it. So what I'll do is I'll target the header since it's a class, and I'll just give it a position of absolutes, and now it's gonna end up being above the container. Or the showcase. And then I'll also give it a border so I could actually see it of maybe 5 pixels white and solid, so it's a solid line border. And that's the header. I'm going to go ahead and work with 80% of the width, and I'll also move it maybe from the left 15%. And let's see what that looks like. Maybe I'll do 12%. All right, that works. And then from the top, I'm going to do, let's say 5%. So that there's some space there. All right, and then I'm going to work with the logo. So I'm gonna go to icons8.com and get like a math logo of some sort. So I think I'm gonna go with this icon. I'm just gonna recolor it to be pure white and click on done, and then right click, copy image address, and go to my code pen, and then in the logo in my HTML, actually no, I'll do it with my CSS. So I'll just target the logo, and it's a hashtag, it's an ID, so I'm gonna use a hashtag, and I'm just gonna give it a background. I didn't even target it, what? Okay, hashtag logo, and then background URL, and then paste that in there, and then I have to also make sure to give it a width, so maybe 25 pixels, and a height 25 pixels, so that I'm actually able to see it. So I'll probably maybe make it 45 pixels, so that it's way bigger. And I'll also make sure that I'll give it a background size. Oh, that's why, 45 pixels. And I'll give it a background size cover, so it covers the entire space of the logo. All right, so it's looking like that, and maybe I want it to be 50 pixels, a little bit bigger. All right. But here's the thing now. So in my header, I have my logo and I also have my navigation bar, but I don't want them to be on top of each other. I need them to be in the same line. And so in order to work with this, I'm going to access, let's see, what I want to access are the items, the logo and the nav bar. And so they're both inside the header. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to access the header, and I'm going to make sure that it has a display of flex. And what flex does, it's a display, hence the name, but by default it has its direction to be row, and so it's going to put all the items within the container, which in this case is the header, in a row. So that's that. So then for flex, I could also do justify content, and I can do justify content space between, and that's going to basically put everything to the respective sides. So that's pretty cool. And then now I want to focus on the navigation bar itself, which is where like the links lie. And so the nav bar itself, I'll give it a border 5 pixels pink solid. Whoops. All right, and then I also noticed that maybe I want to give it a width of, I don't know, 80% of the header. Or maybe not, 50. All right, but then I also want the links to also be like in the same row. But here's the thing, I can't target the nav bar, because if I go to my HTML, the links themselves are in the UL, not in the nav bar. So if I want to apply the same like display flex, I have to apply the display flex to the UL, not to the nav bar, because if I apply to the nav bar, then what's going to happen is it's just going to move the UL to the center or whatever, and it's nothing is going to happen to the links. It's still going to be they're all going to be on top of each other. But if I apply the display flex to the UL, then everything inside the UL will be a flex item and therefore will be affected by the display flex properties that I put in here, including the ones to flex direction row, which is going to put them all in a row. All right, so I'll show you that now. So if I just do .navbar UL and give it a display of flex, it's going to work. And I could also do a gap of 2em, so there's some space between. And I also notice that there's bullet points, and I don't want those bullet points, but that is actually a list item property. So I'll have to do .navbar ULLI, because it's a list item, and it's a list style property, and I'll just set that to none, because currently it's set to like a bullet. And then I don't want the underline, so that's an A property, so it's a text decoration, it's called, and currently it's set to underline, but if I just set it to none, it's going to get rid of the underline, and I can also change the color to be white for now. Now here's the thing, I noticed that the links, they're all on the top left corner, but I don't want them to be the top left corner. I want them to be centered. And so now if I know that the links are all inside a UL, then what I really want is the UL to be centered. And if I know that the UL, right, is inside my navbar, then I'll just go ahead and give my navbar a display flex as well. And I'll make sure to do justify content center, and this centers my content horizontally, and then align item center centers it vertically, so it's going to move down towards the center. Perfect, right? Pretty. But here's the thing, in this case I don't want them to be really in the middle. I want them to be all the way towards the end, so I'll just do end for justify content. Okay, so that works that way. So now it's looking like that. I will go to the A tag specifically, and maybe I'll actually give each A tag a class of link, so that I don't have to keep applying the same properties here. And then for this tag, I'll just give it a class of link as well and an ID of button. All right. So now if I just go here and change this to, actually, I can do I can do .link. It's going to stay the same. And I'll do font size, let's see, font size 20 pixels. Reload that. Okay, that's fine. And then I'll also go to Google Fonts and get Lato, or Lato. I don't know how to pronounce it. Did I say Google Fonts? So I already have it selected. Just search it up, add it to the family, and then click on here. Go to the link, select the link, and then copy that inside, or at least paste that inside the head tags. I like to put it the first thing. And then I can go back and use now this CSS rule, and now CSS is going to know where that's coming from because it's linked inside the HTML. So I'll just put that into the link, and so that's going to apply to every link. So now it's looking like this. All right, so then what am I gonna do? Let me think. Let me work with the showcase. So the showcase itself, let me go to the content. Oh, okay. So for the content, I want everything to be white so I could see it. And then I also want this all to be inside kind of in the center of the page. So, but first let me do 50 pixels so I can see it a little bit better. All right, so if I want it to be on the center of the page and I know that the content is within the showcase, then I need to apply a display flex to the showcase so that everything inside the showcase becomes a flex item. And I can just do justify content center, and that's going to move all of my flex items to the center horizontally, and then align items center, it moves it to the center vertically, and now I have it at the center of my page. And then what I could also do is I can do content, actually I can just go into the H1, so I could do .content H1 and give this a width of 200 pixels so that the rocks goes in the bottom. And then I can also do text align and set that to center so that the rocks is like in the center. That's a little weird. Okay, now it's good. All right. So then I also want the content itself to have a display flex so that the button is in the middle. So just justify content. I can't spell. Justify content center. Oops. Align items center, but notice there's a problem. The flex direction is set to row and it needs to be set to column because by default it's set to row. So now it's good. All right. Here's the thing. Something looks off. Maybe it's this text align center. Or maybe I could just change it to something Math Guru. Sure. Alright, so let's go. So for the CSS, we have that going on, and then I can also do dot or hashtag BTN, because that's the button that I have up there, and it's going to only select this, and I can give this a background of, I kid you not, I don't know. What background color should I give it? I'll just give it a white, I don't care. And then I would have to change the color to black, and whoops, give a padding of 10 pixels top and bottom, 20 pixels left and right, and then a border radius of 20 pixels. Alright, and then something is just off about the placing. So let me see if I could just give everything a border. Alright, so that's why it's looking a little bit off. So I need to make the width just a little bit bigger. Alright, so I think that looks much better. Perfect. Okay, and then I could also do margin bottom of 20 pixels so that there's some space between the heading and the button. Alright, so if now I go here, it's looking like that. So I think that's pretty cool. Alright, and then let's see, I could do maybe Math Guru, and then the button can say like, I don't know, contact. And then I can change the links to say like, maybe like home. This could be like about. This could be like contact. This could be tutoring services. That's literally depressing. Like, look at how that is. Oh my god, it's not even wrapping. We gotta fix that. So the way I fix that is if I just go to my UL, which is somewhere here, and I just set the flex wrap, and I set that to wrap, and now I can wrap around each other. Beautiful. Isn't that pretty? But here's the thing, it's moving across, like it's affecting the, what do you call it? The math group. That's because it's, position absolute. But I'm not too worried about responsiveness right now. I think I'm just gonna end up with tutoring, and that's it, because I don't want there to be too much of that. So I'll leave that like that. And maybe I should also, where's the nav bar itself? Maybe I should give it a width of 80% so that it doesn't do too much of that like that. Okay, that's better. All right. What am I doing now? Oh yeah. So for the button itself, when I hover over it, I need the background to change to something like hashtag D3. That's like a gray color. something like that. And then I'm going to start removing any borders that I have. So for example, the container border, which is a black border, the header border, the nav bar border, and I think that this is the final result. Pretty. Yep, and then when I hover over the contact, that works. And then if I do this, that's what it's looking like over here. Oops, I can't even shrink it. Okay, that's what it's looking like. All right, and then let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, I think I'm done. And then, yep, this is the setting up part. Now I'm going to do another video where I change this entire page to something instead of saying math, it's going to be about tech. And I'll do that only with JS. Anyway, I'm going to go now. Bye.